Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. On the last video I finished the frames for the reels, and now the next piece that I'm gonna make will be the bobbins. And the first step will be cutting some nylon discs like this one here. And as you can see on this drawing, the bobbin will be made from 3 separate pieces that once they're machined, they will be press fit together to create the bobbin. One thing that I found out about this nylon material is that it's not as easy to cut as I ever expected. I first tried just by clamping this in the vise and using the hacksaw to cut it, but this was the result. The blade kept going all over the place and it was impossible to make a straight cut. So then I thought about using a power tool and I used a miter saw, but the blade was dull and generated so much heat that melted the plastic. So then I come up with this fixture, and this way I can hold the piece inside, and with this clamp will prevent it from moving away. And I also put these metal plates here to guide the blade as it cuts through the material. Okay, this one here turned out better than the first one that I cut. Before cutting these discs down to the right thickness, I have to drill a hole and tap it for the 8mm screw. Then I can thread this piece on it and clamp everything in the drill chuck, and this way I'll be able to turn the discs down to 3mm thick. And to help me drill and tap these discs, I made this piece that clamps down on the discs, and this way everything will be secured and without moving while I'm drilling it. Not too bad. And let's see if this threads. Oh, perfect. I made this piece from a bolt like this one, and this is just a nut that I turn the diameter down so it doesn't take as much space. And now that I drilled and tapped all of the discs, I can thread this in and clamp it in the drill chuck. And I'm going to tighten this a little bit more. And with the marker, I'm going to put a little mark here, because I'm going to turn this bottom side first on all of the discs, and then I'll do the top side. I'm checking for any spot that didn't clean up. Otherwise I would have to cut a little bit more, but this looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna take this piece out and cut another one. And now that I have one side done on all 4 discs, I can start cutting the second side and get the final thickness, which will be 3mm. And for that I changed a little bit the setup here. I moved the cutter, so now it's cutting on the top side, and I also moved these nuts from the machine stop. They used to be on the top, and now they're on the bottom, and by moving it, I can control how much I'm cutting. So let's see how this works. So I need to cut a little bit more, so I move this here. Just finished cutting this last piece, and now I'm measuring it. It should be oversized, not by much. Yep, but I want it to be 3mm. But before I make the final cut, I'm gonna sharpen the cutting tool. have to keep removing this bird nests, because this creates these kind of strings, but it's very soft and it breaks very easily, so it doesn't cut the fingers like if it was from steel. And now I'm going to measure this one here. Very good. Well, one more step done, and now I'm going to make the center hole and then start working on the holes that the discs will have all the way around. To cut the center hole to the final size, which in this case will be 16 millimeters in diameter, I first had to make a couple of these cutting tools. I made two. This one here, which will cut a hole 15 millimeters in diameter, and this one here for the final cut, which will be 16 millimeters like I said. And to make these tools, I used a portion from this 4 millimeter drill. I cut off a piece, I ground half of the diameter, and then heat treat it and sharpen it. And to cut stuff like this, it works perfect. And to adjust the size, I first tested on this piece of plastic glass, and now it's possible to see that the hole will be on size or very close to it. And to drill it, once again I'll use this jig, and with these brackets it's possible to clamp everything in place, and this way will prevent it from moving when I'm drilling it. Okay, and before I use these tools, I'm going to use this 12 millimeter end mill. And now this one here, which will make a hole close to 15 millimeters. And now this one here will be the final cut. Well, it's a little bit oversized, but I can live with that. It's 16.1. And now that I finished cut this center hole, the next step will be to cut the outside diameter to 58 millimeters. And to do that, I first turned this piece of acrylic, and on the bottom here, there's a shoulder that fits into this center hole. And this way, I can bolt everything together using this screw. Okay, and now I know that the outside diameter will be concentric to that center hole. Okay, it's getting close, 58.6. Okay, it's done. Okay, just a very quick update here. As you've seen so far, I managed to first cut the thickness of the discs to 3 millimeters. Then I cut the center hole. And the last thing I did was to cut the outside diameter to 58 millimeters. And now to finish it, I'm gonna cut some openings all the way around. And the easiest way to do that would be just to drill some round holes, and they would work as good as any other shape. But I want these reels to, first of all, perform and be very functional, but also to be pleasant to look at it. And that is the reason why, instead of making just round holes, I decided to cut some, it's more like a rectangle shape. And to do that, I had to make one more jig, which is this one here. I used acrylic, and it has this boss sticking out, and that's for holding the discs. And this way, I'll be able to cut these shapes concentric and symmetrical to each other. So I'm gonna set up this in the machine, and then I'll show you how this works. And now to use this jig, I'm first gonna screw it down onto this one that I used before to cut the center hole on the discs. And I'll use these screws. And once I have the machine set up, the first step to cut these openings will be to drill 4 holes on each one with a 4mm drill. Okay, now with this 4mm pin, I'm gonna line up the machine to the center of that hole. Now I can place the discs on the jig and clamp it down using this screw. And now I'll move the drill to the next position. And now with this 4mm cutter, I'll cut a groove to connect these 2 holes. I made these 2 pins, and I'll use it so I can grab a little bit better the disc and control the movement. And now I move the cutter over to this hole here and cut some more grooves. I rub some double-sided tape on my fingers so the disc won't slip when I'm cutting it. Let's see if this works. The double-sided tape didn't work very good. It was just too sticky. So now I'll try some rubber gloves, and I think this way I can grip these discs a little bit better. Didn't like that rubber glove either. It was just too thin and no grip at all. So now I'll use a little bit of, it's actually the same material that I used to make the slingshot rubber bands. And I think this will work. It's much thicker. Because if it doesn't, by the time I finish these discs, I will have no fingers left. So this has to work. I think this is it. Very good. And now with the grooves done on all of the discs, I'm gonna make a couple more cuts to remove this leftover material from the middle. And for that, I have to switch the location of this pin. Before I use this hole here, and now I move it to this second hole. I have to admit that I had to scratch my head a few times to find a setup to make these. But now that I'm looking at it, all of the extra work that it took to make these jigs and fixtures and the cutting tools, I think was time well spent. This thing looks pretty good. There's only one thing here that I don't like. All of these edges and the burrs, they gotta go. I'm gonna make a chamfer all the way around, and then I can say that these will be finished. And now using this chamfering tool, I'll chamfer all of these edges. Okay, one side is done, and what a difference these chamfers made. This thing looks great. I'm very happy with it. I decided to also cut a small chamfer on this outside edge, and for that I clamped the tool at an angle, roughly 45 degrees, and I'll use this piece again to hold the disc on the machine. Okay, I think it looks much better now. Using some wood, I decided to make a replica of the next piece that I'm gonna make. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a smaller diameter piece of nylon, and as you can see, I will have quite a bit of machining to do before I get to the final dimensions. And to make these, the first step will be to drill a 10mm hole, but not all the way through, just about like this, and then with the 8mm drill the rest of it. And this piece is the one where these discs will be press fit on the sides to create the bobbin, like this. And I also made some changes to the original design, and now I decided to add some very thin plastic washers, and these washers, they will go in between the bobbin and these nylon spacers that I made before. And now it's possible to get an idea how the bobbin will look inside the frame once everything is finished. And these are the two pieces of nylon that I'll be using to make a couple of these parts. And the first thing I did was to machine the ends and get these two pieces the same length. And also, it's always better to work from a flat face. And now, using a 10mm drill, I'll make the first hole. I was checking if the pins fit into the holes, and this one here, which is the 10 millimeter, goes in, but towards the bottom it gets a little bit tight, not by much. And the other one, the 8 millimeter, that is a little bit too tight. So I may have to open up a little bit this hole somehow, or make the piece that fits here just a little bit smaller. And now to turn these, I put a 10 millimeter pin on the drill chuck to hold the nylon in position. And to prevent it from spinning, I'm gonna put a little bit of super glue on the pin. And this way everything will be stuck together and won't spin while I'm cutting it. And now the first thing I'll do is to cut this outside diameter, which is 25 millimeters. I don't have enough trouble on the quill to make it all the way through the top, so I will have to do this in 2 stages, cutting one side and then cutting the other side. So this should be very close. The size that I'm looking for is 25 millimeters. And right now I have 25.6. So I'm gonna make one more cut to finish it. Okay, now I'll turn this shoulder here to 16.3 millimeters in diameter. Okay, I end up a little bit smaller than what I was looking for, but I think it would still be okay. And now to finish the shoulder, I'm gonna finish this face and put a small rad on this edge here. I had to move the cutter up so I can cut this leftover material that I couldn't reach before. I flip this cutting tool around so I can cut this top shoulder now, and also finish this dimension from this face to this one here, and in this case will be 46.8 millimeters long, and the shoulder I'll try to make it 16.4 in diameter. Okay, I'm gonna measure this once again, and I think now it should be on size or very close to it. So let's see. Oh yeah. So I was looking for 46.8, it's right on size. The next thing to do now will be to cut this middle section here to create this smaller diameter, which is 16 millimeters, and these rads. And here's the setup to cut this middle portion here. And once again, I use the drill to make this cutting tool, and I sharpened the tip like a V, and this way I can cut in both directions, going down or up. And I'll use this tool to cut just in between the rads, so from here up to where the rad starts. And then I'll use another tool, which also was made from a drill, to cut the rads. Well, so far so good, but I'm gonna have to cut a little bit more down here. So I'm gonna adjust the machine stop to allow the cutter to cut down up to this line here and also on the top. And this way I will have less material to cut with that radius cutter. Okay, well, this top side here, it made a lot of chatter, and this bottom here, it's a lot better. This should be on size now. Yeah, it's pretty close, 16.1. If it wasn't for this one here being all ugly, I would just leave it like this. Because I suspect that when I start cutting with this tool, I'm gonna get a lot of chatter. But I guess now there's only one way to find out, is to try it on and see how it works. The finish is actually pretty good. Okay, and now to cut the radius, I got the setup pretty much ready. I got this tool with the radius profile, and I have this bar which I'll use to put some pressure against this piece if I get a lot of chatter, which I probably will. So let's see how this works. It's not too bad. I can see a little bit of chatter, but I think we have something here. I just have to cut this very slow, and I think this may work. Okay, let's see. I think we have a winner here. Now I have a step right here on the top, so I have to drop a little bit more the machine to cut a little bit more down here. Okay, much better. So now I have to do the same on this side here. Well, I guess this one here won't be as good as the first one, but I'm gonna use a file and try to smooth it up a little bit, all of this chatter. Okay, very well. No more sanding. I'm done here. Done with the sanding because I have one more thing to do, believe it or not. You see how this it's way too big, too tall. So I'm gonna cut a little bit more. The discs are 3 millimeters thick, but I'm gonna make this 4 millimeters, and then once everything is put together, I will trim the top to make it flush to the disc. Okay, this is it. Time to take this out. Wow, this was something. I'm looking at this and I'm actually amazed how good this thing turned out. Compared to this one here, it's exactly, but now I like better this one here. And turning wood, it's so much easier. I wish I could have a lathe to make these, because now I still have to make the second one, and I know that I have to go through all of the setups to make it. But it will be easier, because just not having to worry about filming it, it saves a lot of time. And now to remove the piece from the metal rod, I'll use this little torch, and by heating the metal, it will break the bond from the glue and the piece will come out. Okay, that was easy. Okay, this is it, the moment that we all have been waiting for, which is to press fit together these pieces. And for that, I had to make these rings because I want the pressure to be made all on this middle section here, not anywhere else. So now I just have to line up these two pieces and start closing the vise. Okay, will I make it or break it? We'll see. Whoa, that goes pretty good. Okay. One side is done. I'm gonna do the other side now. Okay, we got a bobbin. Now I just have to trim this extra material that is protruding from this face, and this will be done. And now I'll cut this extra material to make it flush to this level here. And now I'll do the same on this side here, and I'll use the 8mm pin to hold everything in the drill track. I noticed that after I press fit these pieces together, these holes, they collapse it, and now the pins won't go in. And that happened on both sides. So now I'm making a couple of reamers, and in this case it's a 10mm pin, and I'm making these cuts all the way around, and once I finished, I'll use it to open these holes to the right size. And now with this Dremel tool, I'll grind a relief angle on the opposite side of the cutting edge. And now to finish the rimmer, using this needle file, I'm cutting some teeth all the way around. I'll use this 8mm rimmer first, and first I lower the tool in a little bit and slowly turn the bobbin by hand. Very good. I'll do this side now. And now with the bobbins all completed, and before I start working on the next piece, I want to show you how all the pieces that I made so far fit together. And for the bobbin to fit inside the frame, I first have to remove this 5mm pin. Okay, and now the bobbin will go in. And these very thin plastic washers will go in between the bobbin and the nylon spacer. And for now, I'll use this 10mm pin to work as a shaft. Okay. So now I put the pin back on this place. Okay, very good. Well, here it is. And let's see if it spins. Oh yes, very good. You know, for something done without a turning lathe, I'm very, very pleased with the result so far. And it looks good too, which is important. Not just functional. So now the next piece to do will be the tension knob, which will go on this side here. And that knob will be made from the same material that I made the bobbin. And I already got some dimensions here on this drawing here. But that will have to be for the next video. I hope you liked this one here. And if you did, don't forget to give a big thumbs up and to write a comment too. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I invite you to visit. And if you like what you see in there, subscribe to it. And this way Google will send you a message notifying you when I posted a new video. And also, it will be a great motivation for me to make and post more videos like this one here. So for now, I gotta say thanks for watching my videos, and I'll see you next time on Mr. My Videos for You. Bye bye!